It is Monday, January 28th, 2013. We're live in the Wall Street Journal newsroom in New York. Today on WSJ Lunch Break, 3 men arrested in Brazil Monday in connection with the deaths of more than 200 people in a nightclub fire there. John Lyons, a Wall Street Journal reporter in Brazil, joins us now with the update. John, thanks for being here. Who are the men that were arrested?
Well, so far they've arrested one of the owners of the nightclub where the fire occurred early Sunday morning, and 2 of the musicians. The reason being that many of the witnesses who survived the fire said that it was one of the musicians that lighted a Roman candle or some kind of emergency traffic flare that ultimately ignited the ceiling of the club and set off the blaze that ultimately left around 233 people dead in Brazil.
A lot of discussion also, John, around these emergency exits in the club and whether they were locked, whether they were being blocked by some of the nightclub security crew, perhaps because they thought people fleeing had not paid their bill yet, which sometimes can happen at the end of a concert in Brazil. Are they looking at all of those factors?
Yeah, I mean, they're looking at kind of the classic factors that seem to come up when one of these tragedies occurs. You know, the best information that we have is that there was actually only one exit from this nightclub. And probably the saddest part of it is that this club was up to code. They had had investigations and had all their permits in line. Now, it's interesting that you mentioned this. The difficulty that some people had in getting out in Brazil. Often at a nightclub, you pay as you leave. You get a little chit when you go in, and you just basically mark down how much you've consumed on that chit, and then you line up and pay on the way out. And apparently, the security guards thought that this rush of people trying to leave were actually a group of people either in a fight or just trying to burst out of the club without paying. And initially blocked the door. And what some witnesses said is that actually kind of helped create a traffic jam there that ultimately was fatal, as some people fell to the floor, were trampled, and just were unable to find their way out.
Yeah, and the video coming out of that, both taken by professionals as well as people, with their cell phone cameras, is just, it's devastating. You see the bodies on the floor, the bodies of the people lined up on the streets, and so far 232 people, I believe, have been reported dead. But that number could rise. Is that right, John? Because they still don't know what the effects of all of the folks who, in terms of what smoke inhalation they have suffered, what the effects of that could be.
That's right. There are dozens of people that are still actually breathing with some kind of assistance in hospitals, either oxygen or other medical techniques. The Brazilian military has moved about 40 people by air from the scene to better hospitals around, or bigger hospitals around Brazil, in hopes of saving them. What some of the medical people we've talked to have said is that the materials that were burning in the ceiling may have actually had chemicals in them that can have effects on the lungs that actually kind of start to show up hours or days after the original incident. So we're really watching closely the condition of the patients that are in the hospital. It's about 132 injured right now.
All right, we'll continue to watch this story with you and your team in Brazil. Thank you so much, John, for being with us. And we have a lot more lunch break coming up for you when we come back.